How do you plan to address the concerns of independent voters and anti-Trump Republicans like myself who feel left out of the polarized political landscape? And what specific actions would you take to bridge the political divide and create more unity
of our country with Donald Trump at the lead?
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians. These are career people who have served in the highest roles in national security.
That was one of the many viral moments from VP Harris' CNN town hall tonight. And I think it's important to remember that the only reason that this town hall is being hosted is because Donald Trump was unwilling to debate VP Harris again on CNN. That debate would have been taking place tonight. But of course, Donald Trump is too scared. But VP Harris is still out there talking about her policies, talking about her agenda, and calling out Donald Trump. And we saw that later on in this town hall when she was asked a question by a Republican voter and gave a perfect answer that I know is going to drive Donald Trump crazy because it is going so viral, and we are going to get into that all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. It really means a lot to me. Now let's get into more of VP Harris' comments on the threat that Donald Trump poses to our country in this clip right here.
The audience in just a second. I want to start by asking you, though, for weeks you have been calling Donald Trump unstable, unhinged. You've called him dangerous. You've quoted General Milley recently, who called him a fascist. Today, you quoted General Kelly, who said that Trump repeatedly praised Hitler.
Yeah.
But there are tens of millions of Americans right now who have heard all those things, and they don't buy it, or even if they do, they're still going to vote for Donald Trump. He's arguably more popular now than ever. You have 13 days to go. What do you say to those voters to convince them? Because some of them are in this room.
Sure, and I thank you all for taking the time to be here. And you could be doing a number of other things with your time. So this really is proof that we love our country. People are engaged, Anderson, and really want to talk about the issues. And so the issue that you raise, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard what you and I have heard repeatedly, which is the people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. They have said he should never again serve as president of the United States. We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a 4-star Marine general, who was his longest serving chief of staff, gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. And I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who is not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who were career people are not going to be there to hold him back.
such an important closing message that Vice President Harris is delivering so well about the Republicans coming out against Donald Trump, knowing what a threat he is to our democracy. And what I think is an important reminder that I think gets lost a little bit sometimes when we talk about this is that those same Republicans who prevented some of Donald Trump's more disastrous attacks on our democracy would not be there in a second term. There would be no checks on Donald Trump. It would only be the most extreme Republicans and cultists surrounding him. And it's one of the many reasons why he can never be president again. And one of the many reasons that VP Harris is talking about when she's talking about bringing this country together. And that is what she was asked about by this Republican voter right here in a clip that went mega viral.
How do you plan to address the concerns of independent voters and anti-Trump Republicans like myself who feel left out of the polarized political landscape? And what specific actions would you take to bridge the political divide and create more unity?
That's a wonderful question. I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans. And I think to the point of, in the spirit of your question, that people are frankly exhausted with what has been happening over the last several years, which is this environment that is suggesting that Americans should be pointing fingers at one another, that we are divided as a nation, instead of what I think you and I will speak for us, I think, who believe and know. The vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And I think that the American people deserve to have a president who is grounded in what is common sense, what is practical, and what is in the best interest of the people, not themselves. I started my career as a prosecutor. And I will tell you, I never in my career, and most of my career was outside of Washington, D.C., by the way. Only 4 years when I was in the Senate were in Washington, other than being vice president. I have never in my career as a prosecutor asked a victim or a witness of a crime, are you a Democrat or a Republican? The only thing I've ever asked is, are you okay? And I do believe that is what the American people deserve in their president, and not someone who makes decisions based on who voted for them or what is in their personal interest. And I reference that because, as we know, it has been revealed that Donald Trump, when he was president, during extreme disasters, when it came time to determine how those areas, those people who had been traumatized by extreme weather would get relief, he asked the question, did they vote for him? I believe the American people deserve better. And they deserve a president who is focused on solutions, not sitting in the Oval Office plotting their revenge and retribution.
Reaching across the aisle to bridge the political divide has been one of the core issues of the VP Harris campaign, and something that she has spoken on so well. Of course, this week we saw VP Harris on the campaign trail with Liz Cheney, an important reminder of the big tent that is this campaign, and the better place that we can get into in this country when we can actually have the discussions about what matters. But before, of course, we can do that, we have to fight for our democracy and preserve it first, because there is no policy more important than democracy that will always come first. Of course, it's a policy that Donald Trump doesn't care about. He doesn't care about anything that America stands for. Like John Kelly said, it's the reason he's willing to cozy up to dictators, why he thinks about the enemy from within, not the enemy from outside. And that's what VP Harris had to call him out for in this clip right here.
And we know who he is. He admires dictators, sending love letters back and forth with Kim Jong-un. Talks about the president of Russia, and then most recently the reports are that in the height of COVID, when most Americans could not get their hands on a COVID test, Americans were dying by the hundreds a day, he secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia for his personal use.
We have to continue to reiterate this point. VP Harris is running for president. For us, Donald Trump is running for president to avoid prison, to serve Putin, and to write another big tax cut for his wealthy friends. Those 3 reasons. That's it. It's the only thing he cares about. He cares about the flattery of dictators. He cares about his rich friends, making sure they donate more to him, making sure he can grift off of them. He cares about staying out in jail. That's what this campaign is about for him. There is no substance. There is no looking into the future. There's no ambition to improve this country, to build a more perfect union. No, it has always been and always will be about Donald Trump. Of course, VP Harris, on the other hand, is talking about policy. And I think one of the best examples of that we're going to contrast with Donald Trump in just a second comes right here.
Prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging. And part of my plan is to create a new approach that is the first time that we will have a national ban on price gouging.
VP Harris has a plan to lower prices to fight price gouging. VP Harris cares about making everyday items working class Americans more affordable. What does Donald Trump have to say about the rising price of groceries? What does Donald Trump have to say about anything nonsense? We could see some of that right here.
Like that, you hear the word groceries, you say, really? But I get more complaints about groceries, everything from hot dogs to bacon and eggs and everything. So what we're doing is, and what they've done is they screwed up our energy. We had energy.
We want a president who is bridging the divide, not a president who was trying to create one. And that is what the Donald Trump presidency was. That is what it will be if he is elected again, an outcome we cannot let happen. And we're going to continue to talk about that every single day on the show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you're stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.